All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us during the Lytham Partners Winter 2021 Investor Conference and what we are calling our 2022 Vision Event. My name is Robert Blum, Managing Partner of Lytham Partners. And during this fireside chat, we welcome InMed Pharmaceuticals, ticker symbol of INM on the NASDAQ. And joining us is Eric Adams, the company's Chief Executive Officer, and Chris Meiering, the company's Vice President, Commercial Operations. We'll dive into questions in just a moment, but I want to remind everyone that management is available for one-on-one meetings later this week. If you've not already signed up, you can send me an email at Blum, B-L-U-M, at lythampartners.com, or you can visit the website, lythampartners.com/virtual. Click on the one-on-one meeting request button, and we will get you taken care of. So with that, let's begin. Eric, the company's description is that InMed Pharmaceuticals is a global leader in the development, manufacturing, and commercialization of rare cannabinoids. Can you please give a high-level overview of InMed and its business model?
Sure, absolutely. So we started as a drug development company looking at the therapeutic potential of rare cannabinoids. And as we've developed over time, we needed access to actually manufacturing these. So we've developed alongside of our drug development programs a manufacturing technology. And then recently we acquired BayMedica, which is an expert and leader in various manufacturing techniques for the commercialization of rare cannabinoids into the health and wellness sector. So the underlying theme here is rare cannabinoids. We think that we are a leader both on the pharmaceutical drug development side, as well as introducing new rare cannabinoids into the health and wellness space. This is all supported by a very robust manufacturing know-how.
So before we dive into maybe the further components of the business, talk about why the focus on rare cannabinoids, and maybe explain some of the opportunities and as well as challenges associated with the rare cannabinoids as opposed to the major cannabinoids such as CBD and THC.
Absolutely. So this all goes back to the cannabis plant and the human body. I mean, the human body itself manufactures two cannabinoids that regulate a lot of things in the body, such as appetite and mood, inflammation, a number of different things. The plant manufactures itself over about 140 different cannabinoids. Now, most people have heard of THC and CBD, primarily because they're in such large abundance. It's very easy to extract from the plant. It's very easy to, look into the therapeutic benefits of those two. Add to that now CBG. CBG is what we call the mother of all cannabinoids. And there's now strains of plants that hyperproduce that. And it's also very cheap, inexpensive to extract from the plant. So those are kind of the major ones. And they've been investigated for decades, and there's a lot of scientific knowledge about those compounds, and they do some important things. But we look at the other 140 or so cannabinoids that can be found in the plant. We think that there are several of those that are going to have very important therapeutic potential in treating disease, and also that will have some benefit in the health and wellness space. So we really want to look at those for a number of reasons. Number one, from a drug development standpoint, we can actually find out new, interesting, novel applications, and we can build a patent portfolio around those. So we have commercial protection down the road, as we invest all of this time and money into developing drug products. So that's kind of the underlying thesis of the company. We've been very successful in identifying a number of different rare cannabinoids that we think will make excellent drug candidates. And at the same time, the acquisition of BayMedica, they found a lot of interesting and now in high demand rare cannabinoids for the health and wellness sector.
So let's start with the pharmaceutical side, drug development side of the business first here. Shed some light on the different programs maybe that you're working on. Let's begin there.
Sure. We have two current drug development programs, both of them based on the rare cannabinoid CBN. And the first one is a dermatological product where we're looking at a very rare genetic skin condition called epidermolysis bullosa, or EB. Currently, that program is in phase 2. We are enrolling patients now in Europe in a clinical trial with a potential readout there towards the end of calendar year 2022. What we're looking to do in this patient population is a very severe disease. It's characterized by fragile skin that can easily tear or blister and causing wounds all over the body. We're looking at a couple of things. Initially, we're looking at the symptom relief, which is really important in this patient population. These patients are using anywhere from 5 to 10 products on a daily basis to mitigate symptoms such as pain, itch, chronic inflammation, and to aid in wound healing. And we think that our product, which we call INM 755, has the ability, or should have the ability, to mitigate some, if not all, of these symptoms. So you can replace kind of a something that you're using 5 to 8 products with a single product that should provide some symptom relief. So that's a very exciting program. Down the road, it's it's a limited patient population, so it's not going to be one of these blockbuster multi-billion-dollar drugs, but we think it'll play an important part once we demonstrate that clinically, and there will be an interesting commercial opportunity. So that program is up and running, and as I said, we're in phase 2 clinical trials now. The other program that we have, INM 088, is using CBN to look at glaucoma, treatment for glaucoma. And there's 2 aspects to the treatment of glaucoma that we're interested in. The first one, which all of the current products currently do, is they reduce the intraocular pressure, which is a characteristic of this disease, and mitigate the damage that pressure can cause to the nerves at the back of the eye that are responsible for vision. Turns out several cannabinoids can do that. CBN is one of them. And so no big surprise there. But interestingly, we also looked at the ability of cannabinoids to protect these nerves, these neurons at the back of the eye, and extend their life. And it's the death of these neurons as a result of the pressure that can kill them and lead to irreversible blindness. So it's a very interesting finding. We filed a patent on this for the use of CBN to provide neural protection in the eye. We're probably, just over a year away from potentially beginning human clinical trials in a phase 1. We still have some toxicology work to do, some formulation development and manufacturing. So that program is running very well. This is a huge commercial opportunity. I think upwards of 80 million people worldwide suffer from glaucoma. So it's kind of the opposite of what we're looking at with EB, which is a very small patient population. But I think this is just, we're just scratching the surface with the use of cannabinoids as drugs to treat very serious illnesses.
So in addition to the 2 you just mentioned there, I see you also recently filed another patent application using a different cannabinoid for treating some sort of big ticket indications such as Alzheimer's, Huntington's, Parkinson's rather. What is InMed's overall patent strategy, and its important for potential for big pharma type partnerships?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the limitations that we have using these naturally occurring cannabinoids is that we cannot patent the molecule itself. And for drug development, it's important that you have a very broad, patent coverage, including patenting the compound itself, because you're going to invest so much money and time to develop these that at the end of the day, when you're ready to commercialize, you want to have that added commercial protection that's afforded by the patent. Now, it's not absolutely necessary. It's not a drop-dead issue. If you look at GW Pharma, they were able to develop a CBD oil to treat epilepsy. And they've done it very successfully. Their sales are probably over $1 billion at this point. I mean, it's a very successful product. And they recently sold to Jazz Pharmaceuticals for $7 billion. So it's not that you absolutely have to have the patent on the molecule, but it's very helpful and very important. And people, spark more to the idea of using these rare cannabinoids if you have that. So we did file a patent where we saw some really interesting results in a new cannabinoid in our portfolio that has some very important effects in potential treatment of diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Not a big surprise. You look at CBD and its role in epilepsy, so something is going on there in the brain with these compounds. And what we do is we screen a large number of different compounds and we try to find the ones that have the most important, potential benefits, and those are the ones that we choose to move forward with. Now, having said that, part of the Bay Medica acquisition, we acquired from them their library of cannabinoid analogs. So they were very forward-thinking in establishing a patent position, or at least patent applications, to cover, taking the natural cannabinoid, adding a specific group to it, or changing the structure slightly to enhance its effect, to improve possibly its safety, or maybe make it easier to deliver. So as we go forward on the drug development side, we'll be diving deep into this treasure chest of cannabinoid analogs to find the ones that we can move forward with in drug development, and that we actually own the patent for. And I think that's just going to augment how we can position these new developments with large pharmaceutical partners.
Now, you've mentioned the Bay Medica acquisition here a couple of times, and sort of thinking about manufacturing, and what the value proposition of that deal was, and how you sort of look at the combination of the two of these, and how 1 and 1 can equal more than that.
Yeah, maybe Chris, you could jump in and talk a little bit about what Bay Medica brings to the equation.
Yeah, sure. We're really excited to be part of the InMed team, and the acquisition has, I think, brought together a suite of manufacturing techniques that are applicable to both the health and wellness consumer marketplaces as well as the pharmaceutical marketplace. We use chemical synthesis and biosynthesis to manufacture cannabinoids here at Bay Medica, combining that with the cell-free IntegraSyn model that InMed has pioneered. We now see that we cover all the bases in the ability to manufacture just about any rare cannabinoid of interest, utilizing whichever platform, whichever methodology is most applicable. So we're agnostic to how to get there. We just know we have the know-how to take any of these individual technologies and bring them to the market. And we did that initially with cannabichromene, CBC. We took that product from one of these bench tops right here from the benchtop scale of milligrams in 2019, built out a supply chain and manufacturing network, and brought that up to hundreds of kilograms by the end of 2020. And that's a super successful product to date. And the same technologies in this laboratory, we've been able to develop that analog platform that Eric mentioned. We've developed a whole repertoire of natural cannabinoids with minor modifications that we believe will have great pharmaceutical activity, because they're not so divergent from what the plant makes. But as you mentioned, we can have an intellectual property position, and we can patent some of those compounds. We did file patents in that regard already.
All right. Let's transition a bit here to the health and wellness sector for, again, rare cannabinoids. It's a quite nascent sort of area there. What are some of the early trends that you guys are seeing there?
Yeah, it's a really interesting marketplace. So we've seen the CBD market develop over the last decade, and that market's really begun to mature, and that's entered into the agricultural marketplace has been producing these compounds. The prices have come down, and now kind of every brand that wants CBD, every distributor that wants CBD has CBD. And the only real distinguishing factor in CBD is the CBD market's price. And so what we found through scaling CBC and introducing that to the marketplace is what it's allowed the manufacturers and the consumers to explore new cannabinoids, to explore these minor cannabinoids that are really difficult to purify from the plant. It allows the brands to make new formulations with new benefits. It allows the consumer to explore new benefits of minor cannabinoids that really wasn't available to the marketplace prior to our ability to bring CBC at large scale to the market. What we found is that it's just been a challenge for groups to bring minor cannabinoids, because you're not confident your supply chain will be there. You're not confident that if this takes off, the demand will be able to be met. And what we've shown through taking from the bench top to multi-100-ton manufacturing is that our business partners now have the confidence that we can deliver these cannabinoids, CBC now and other cannabinoids in the future, at the scales that are necessary.
Now, on the THC-V side of things, what sort of differentiates BayMedica from other competitors in the industry when it comes to the manufacturing of it?
Yeah, I'll take one step back actually. So we brought CBC to market. Our bulk distributors, white label manufacturers, they came and they said, hey, you guys are great at making CBC. And we said to them, well, what do you need next? What's the next cannabinoid you'd like to see? And they came in and said, without fail, every single customer we work with said THCV. And they also said CBDV, and that's nice because they're both actually manufactured through the same process. And so what we did is we explored all the existing methods to make THCV from the chemical synthesis method. They're very challenging. It's really challenging to make THCV from chemical synthesis methods. You can get it from the plant, but THCV is a non-controlled substance. The plant makes the controlled substance THC. That's intoxicating, and it's really difficult to separate those two to a level where you have the confidence that you're not going to be selling a product that is under the purview of the DEA. So we then became aware of a technology, and we have access to this technology that allows us to make THCV at basically unlimited scale in a much more efficient method than ever been done before. And that's by making CBDV first. And we've taken this process again from the bench top, and we are in the pilot scale up now, and we'll be within a couple quarters, hopefully having significant quantities of THCV and CBD in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's important to point out, while they have the same root name, CBDV, THCV, these are, vastly different in the way that they interact with the human body. So as Chris pointed out, THCV is non-intoxicating. There's a subtle change in its structure that makes it non-intoxicating versus THC, which is the intoxicating component of cannabis. So it's understanding these little tweaks and then going out and being able to manufacture those at scale. And again, we have access to any kind of manufacturing process that there is, and expertise in these different processes. And so I think that gives us a very strong leadership position. And as Chris alluded to, we're very excited about THCV, and that's a priority for us to get that launched sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and we basically leverage that existing supply chain and manufacturing system. It's global, and we've taken the same partnerships and developed this set of products within that same system. And the first one took a while, and this is moving much more quickly. So we feel confident about delivering these products.
So if we look 5 or 10 years from now, is the progression going to be similar to other industries and in other active ingredients where synthetically produced cannabinoids are going to be favored over naturally grown cannabinoids by the large CPG and pharma companies?
I'll take CPG first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so CPG, I previously worked at Nestle Purina, and there's these groups, they're interested in these products. They understand the benefits of these products for their consumers, for your pets, but there's a big challenge in meeting the standards that are necessary for multinational CPG companies to bring a product to market. We believe that the methods we use, chemical synthesis, biosynthesis, cell-free synthesis, they make a reliable, consistent product that's the same every single time. And the challenge with the plant, and GW Pharma dealt with this in their CBD product, it's very, very challenging to create the exact same product every single time. So we believe that the methods we're developing, the technologies we're developing, they're supremely applicable to delivering the quality and reproducibility of the product, regardless of what it is, CBC, THCV, you name it, to the large CPG companies. And our plan is to develop these processes, and then when they're ready, we're ready to deliver products to them. When their regulatory and legal teams say we're ready to move on CBDV, we'll be ready to move with them.
Yeah, and I think a big difference between the consumer products and the pharmaceutical products, both of them you can say, well, we make this to 95% purity, and so that's applicable probably across the board for either market. The difference is on the pharmaceutical side, you have to know what the other 5% is exactly. You have to know that what's in that 5% is not actually active, and you have to be sure that from batch to batch, that 5% is identical. And that's the added cost and quality control that goes into a pharmaceutical drug product. So, there's no, you really can't have any variability when you go from batch to batch. And so we think that synthetic is the way to go. If you have a crop, not only do you have all of the issues with, the variability in the seasons and the growing conditions, the plant itself may mutate and hyperproduce one versus a different cannabinoid. Your purification technique has to change because of that. You have too many variables in order to make something highly consistent and reproducible for the drug market. So that's why people turn to these synthetic technologies because they're much more predictable and much more reliable.
Well, and I think that, developing something on a small scale is can be easy. Transitioning that to large scale production is always more difficult. I think that's one of BayMedica's strengths, though, from what's been described here. Talk a little bit more about the importance of that as you look to move forward.
Yeah, we like to say that a pharmaceutical chemist can make a few milligrams of anything on the bench top. The bench top's not a challenging place to do these things. The real challenge lies in taking that technology that works at a scale of a tiny little test tube and bringing that to a large scale manufacturing process. And we've leveraged our in-house expertise and some consulting expertise and really taken these processes to the large scale at consumer pricing for the health and wellness market. It's a little easier sometimes to do it given price points of pharmaceuticals, but we've been able to do this at a price point that makes a consumer product viable. And again, just taking that knowledge and that know-how from our experience with CBC and applying that to new cannabinoids like CBDV, THCV. We're looking at a really novel one called CBT that we've developed a method for making that as well. So we're really excited about this know-how and leveraging it in the future.
Perfect. We're sort of getting close to the end here. As we look to, we're calling this our 2022 vision event. As we look to next year, talk about and help investors understand what some of the milestones that we should be expecting from the company are.
Yeah, so on the drug development side, we're going to be continuing to execute on our game plan of advancing both 755 in EB and 088 in glaucoma. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to make improvements in our IntegraSyn system because we think that that technique is probably going to be preferred to make cannabinoids for the drug industry and at that quality. We're going to, as I said, be looking closely at this treasure trove of novel analogs that BayMedica has created, and trying to find important cannabinoids that can be further developed into different indications. And that work has been going on already for probably about a year through a collaboration that we established a year ago. So it's very interesting, and we think that holds a lot of potential. On the health and wellness side, we're going to continue to launch several new rare cannabinoids into the health and wellness space over the next few quarters and continuing on for the rest of the year. But we have, we have our eyes set on THCV and CBDV as well as others. So we're quite excited about that. We're going to continue to build that revenue stream to, what we think is a very significant amount. And we intend to be, dominant in terms of the margins and low cost production of these cannabinoids. So we think we'll be very well positioned in that space. And, as we go forward, we're going to continue to look at other manufacturing techniques such as biosynthesis and targeting that to a few of these cannabinoids that we think are going to be, very, made of very large quantities, mass quantities, because that's where biosynthesis starts to become interesting, is when you go to a scale that's, just a tremendously large scale. And we have that ability and that know-how in-house here. So it's going to be very exciting 2022. We think we're going to have a lot of milestones that we'll be hitting across the entire year. And it's really fun, I think, to now be integrating these two companies, having meetings and discovering what we've been doing, what they've been doing that hasn't necessarily been public, and trying to match up, the know-how and the talent that we have with all these different opportunities.
Fantastic. Anything else that before we depart here? Anything else you want to end the discussion on?
No. I think it's when we met BayMedica about a year ago, immediately we started to see a lot of benefits of working together, and that's led to the merger of the two companies. And the teams are just incredibly complementary, and we just look forward to building this out and to realizing everything that it can be.
Fantastic. Well, Eric, Chris, thank you very much for your time today. Greatly appreciate it. I'll remind everyone, if you would like to arrange a one-on-one with management here, send me an email, Blum, BLUM, @lythampartners.com, or again, visit the website, lythampartners.com/virtual. Click on the one-on-one meeting request button, and we'll get you taken care of. We hope you all enjoy the conference. Eric, Chris, thank you very much again for the time today.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.